guys, Alex from Mental Health Thinking here. I'm a provisional psychologist and everything I say in all of these videos are things that I tell clients. This video is about mindfulness, and mindfulness has actually been a big part of my life. It's stretched from when I used to travel and when I was in Morocco and I met a man who was Buddhist, and we talked about the philosophy behind Buddhism, and we did some meditation together. He guided me through it, and then I kept doing it after that. Later on, I did my honours thesis, and part of that was a systematic or exhaustive review on self-control depletion. So your ability to withstand tasks that require your self-control, because you can think of that like a mental resource that wears out during the day, that is. So if you think of it like strength, if you keep on lifting things up, then you'll get tired and you won't be able to lift things up as effectively. Same with self-control. When you're focusing on things that you don't really feel like focusing on, or you're attending to tasks preferentially, that sort of thing takes self-control. And self-control is a limited resource during that day. It's something that if you use over time, just like strength, you'll actually build it up. And mindfulness is one of the effective techniques that uses your attention switching ability in particular and builds up your self-control. I kept at it with mindfulness in my personal life. A couple of years ago, I went over to China and I spent months during that year living at a Kung Fu school there. And I was meditating every day and I was talking to the Kung Fu masters there, the people who practiced meditation regularly and did Tai Chi and Qigong. And we talked about the way that it's done, the way that you can most effectively do it, and the Chinese philosophy behind it as well. Now, since I've began doing my masters and started practicing as a provisional psychologist, I've found out even more about it. And mindfulness is used during several therapy techniques, such as ACT. There's actually mindfulness therapy. ACT, by the way, is called acceptance and commitment therapy, and it's a very, very popular and growing therapy these days. And it's also used in MCT, which stands for metacognitive therapy. It's the best evidenced approach when it comes to generalized anxiety disorder and social anxiety disorder. My next video is going to be on generalized anxiety disorder actually, and my last one was on social anxiety. Particularly in therapy where it has the most use is with rumination and worry. Now for rumination, you can get a more detailed explanation in my video on depression, but basically it is the cyclic thought about things that happened in the past that make us upset or decrease our self-esteem. That sort of cyclic thinking is called rumination because originally the term comes from what cows do. Because they're chewing on grass, which is highly fibrous, they swallow it down after chewing it, but they'll vomit it back up and chew it around for a little while and then swallow it down again. That's called ruminating, that chewing it after vomiting it back up only to swallow it again. Now, it's the same sort of thing that we do with our thoughts. With worry, that will be explained more in my next video. Worry is thinking about things in the future that might go wrong. So it's very similar to rumination in that you do have that cyclic thinking and that it upsets us, but with worry we're thinking about future events rather than things that have already happened. It makes sense that both of these areas have been shown to improve when people use mindfulness, because mindfulness is shown to improve your cognitive resource of self-control and attention switching. So if you want to stop thinking about something, then it gives you that ability to do it. So to the nature of mindfulness, we need to understand that when I'm referring to myself, when I'm talking about mindfulness, I'm not referring to the thoughts I have, and I'm not referring to my body or the things that I've done. I'm referring to the mind's eye, this overall observer, and it is distinct and separate from thoughts and emotions. And that's a really important aspect of mindfulness. So you can think of thoughts like objects as they pass by the mind. And one thing about thoughts is that they're always temporary. So if we get really excited and we attach to a thought, it's going to go eventually, and that might be disappointing. If we get really upset by a thought when it's there and we try to push it away, it's still going to stay for a certain amount of time. We can influence the amount that we attend to the thought, but we can't influence the duration of the thought. We can also, by attending to a thought with high emotionality, make it repeat. Now, this is not as intuitive as you might think, because a lot of the time we get thoughts that we don't want to have. We get things that upset us, things that distress us, and we think, I don't want to have that, and we try to push it away. What that does, though, is bring your attention toward it, and we have a high emotional response. That emotional response doesn't have to be a positive one. It doesn't have to be one that we want to have. That high emotional response will mean that it repeats on us. So if there are thoughts like rumination and worry that you don't want to be having, now what you can do is accept that the thoughts are there, because we don't have control over that. If we accept that they're there and we're just curious, oh, I'm having that thought again. Oh, well, what can I think about instead? Then we don't have the emotional response to the thought, and we don't make it recur on us. If we don't give it a lot of attention and a lot of credence emotionally, then it will stop repeating on us, and we can instead attend to the positive thoughts we want to have. And those positive thoughts will start recurring on us just the same, because we're focusing on them, and that causes the recurrence. Being mindfulness in particular is choosing one particular thing to think about and just taking your mind back to it. So it's practicing what I talked about. Instead of just trying to decide to think about positive things, you're deciding to think about one thing in particular, and the subject really isn't that important. In a lot of meditation, they focus on the breath. Sometimes they focus on yogic breathing, which is diaphragmatic breathing, if you look at my video there. Sometimes you would focus on relaxing your muscles, so scanning through your muscles and have the intention of allowing them to relax. All of this is taking your attention specifically to something, and the practice of that increases your ability to switch attention. When you do actually perform meditation, usually it's just getting into a relaxed position. It's not about kind of being in a very particular position or anything like that. Be relaxed. It's a common practice to have your back straight so that you can breathe effectively with your diaphragm, because that will help you be calm. And you might just sit down, perhaps cross-legged if that's something that's comfortable for you, because it allows you to keep your back straight in that way. It's also commonplace to have a slight smile on your face as you are actually meditating, just because of that dual feedback that you get that I talked about in one of my previous videos. So if we're smiling, then that actually makes us feel happy, because our brain interprets that as us actually being happy, as it's something that we do at the same time. You don't have to perform complete meditation either. You can be mindful on the go, and you can think of it like just picking up a weight and doing a couple of reps. It's still useful. So you can do that by just noticing things in the present moment, as long as you're choosing what to notice. And as any other thoughts come into your mind, you're accepting them and allowing them to pass by as you refocus on whatever it is that you're focusing on. Now, it could be that as you breathe in and out, you notice as the air coming out warms the nostrils, and as the air going in actually cools them. Anything like that in the present moment that you can note down. The present moment, just so that you're not focusing on memories, you're not focusing on things that have happened, tends to elicit less of a judgment and less of an emotional response from you, because that's not the purpose of mindfulness. Okay, that's my video on mindfulness. I hope you found it really useful and that it sheds light on something that sometimes has an idea that it's just to do with hippies or something like that, but it actually has really good evidence to support it. If you like this video, hit the like button so that more people get to see it. If you want to see more videos like this, and I'll be posting them every week, hit the subscribe button. Also, let me know if you'd like me to do a video with a guided meditation. More than happy to do that. I've done it with clients many a times. I just don't want to do it unless it's actually called for, unless you would like to watch it. Thank you.